I'm Dr. Greg Mendelson. I'm a clinical psychologist in supervised practice, and I work with adolescents and adults, primarily in the LGBTQ plus community.
So what would you say to someone if they said to you, am I dateable?
I think that that's a pretty loaded question, and it could be coming from so many different angles. But I think often in my experience, when somebody asks that, there's a lot of other stuff kind of going on. A lot of us were our own worst self-critic. Sometimes even under am I dateable is even, the bigger question of am I lovable or am I worthy of love? And so I think that a lot of people think that they're undateable or unlovable, that something's wrong with them, especially in the queer community, where we're born into this society, like a heteronormative society, and don't really have any role models of like queerness. And so you grow up and you think that your type of life or sexual preferences isn't necessarily even a thing, or it could be put down. And so we take those messages and we internalize it. So I think when somebody says, am I undateable, there's a lot more kind of going on behind that. Within the queer community, we still are affected by what's outside of the queer community. Most queer people have internalized homophobia, biphobia, all that stuff. And so even within the queer community, there's a lot of systemic injustices even in that, with like racism, ageism, classism, sizeism. So all those negative messages within the queer community sometimes then translate to, am I dateable? Am I worthy?
Why would someone think that they're not fuckable?
Not fuckable. Okay, so so the one thing is, so a lot of people might think that they're not fuckable. Everybody's fuckable. Okay. Yeah. Everybody's fuckable. For every type of body, there's somebody that would like that. We have to sometimes think of, if you don't want to be fetishized, that's totally understandable. But if you were to come into my office and say, am I fuckable? Everybody's fuckable. Sometimes something that's under that question is really, am I desirable and, am I attractive? But a problem with sort of within queer community, but also even straight community, is the access to porn that we have and the unrealistic expectations that people have of what good sex is or what like a sexy body is. And so sometimes looking at porn can be great, but if that's your only frame of reference for what sex is, it could really skew it. Like, we don't have personal trainers, all of us, and body makeup and perfect angles. And sex can be messy, sex can be awkward, but it's not necessarily what it looks like in porn. I think for somebody to feel more fuckable, they first need to recognize why they're feeling unfuckable, and just like the bigger picture of like what outside factors really play in, like, is it that you kind of have this expectation that you have to have, rock hard abs and just be like this porn star with a 12-inch penis? I think it's also just important to really embrace your body, start to love your body, because sex isn't about how in shape you are. You could love sex even more when you love your body. Whatever shape it's at.
And maybe start unfollowing some people on Instagram.
That's it too, or like take it with a grain of salt and say, oh, this is my frame of reference, this sexy body or the porn you watch, knowing that that's not necessarily the reality. And that sex each time doesn't have to be this mind-blowing orgasmic experience. When it happens, that's great, but not all the time is that going to be the case. I've had some clients that look like porn stars, but they still wonder if they're dateable, if they're fuckable. So it's really something that everybody's affected, and everyone is fuckable. I really believe that.
Before you guys go, I just want to give a shout out to a website that I created called Himeros.tv. It's basically like a sexual playground for men who have sex with men, and each week we upload a different video that helps you take your sex and sexuality to the next level. And then we discuss it later in the week through a virtual classroom. It's a lot of fun. It's amazing. I'm super passionate about it. It's kind of like, it's like porn, but better. So I hope to see you there. It is Himeros.tv.